What a joy that you have found us for this podcast. How exciting it is to think that this spiritual message is going out to people around this planet. Whether your life is working at a peak level or whether it can use some enhancement, have I got the message for you today. So get a piece of paper, get ready to take notes, call a friend, have them watch this podcast also. Then you too can have something to talk about and take it to a deeper level. So enjoy. Here we go.
Good morning, Seaside. I'm still carrying my puzzle piece this week. How about you? It has just been filled with all sorts of reminders for me. And if you haven't guessed, this theme this month is Get Connected. Hey, thank you, Molly. I saw you. Thank you for our stage design. You did a great job. It's so fun to watch some changing going on. Anyway, it just, the puzzle piece, I would take it out of my pocket and it would remind me to connect with Spirit. I would, find it sitting on the shelf and remind me to connect with Spirit. So I trust the puzzle piece reminded you a lot through the course of the week, whether you pulled it out of your wallet or your purse or what have you to connect. And I would tell you to pick one up, but most everybody got one last week. 750 of us were here last week for Easter. So, but if you didn't get a puzzle piece, I think there's still a few left. We had a 1,000-piece puzzle. We gave pieces for, so there's a couple left, but the kids got them. But so it also inspired me to pull out a jigsaw puzzle on Monday. And it was one of those 1,000-piece puzzles, one of the big ones, and it wasn't the easy kind where it had a bunch of little pictures all over. It was just a few colors blending together. And after a day of working on this, there's no way I was going to complete this thing in a week. But I was filled with all sorts of wonderful metaphors. How some pieces don't go together even if you force them, and how you have to do the edge first before you can fill in the back, and how these pictures blend into this. It was just great. But I started spending way too many hours working on this jigsaw puzzle. I don't know if you've ever done one before, but hours just go by, and Trevor's saying, "Dad, man, pay attention to me." By the middle of the week, it's starting to take shape. By Thursday, I'm thinking, maybe I will have it done by the end of the week. I've been going late in the night, up early in the morning, not working, and I just consumed. And then Thursday night, after I went to bed, Trevor slipped downstairs and he just had it. He took that whole puzzle and threw it on the ground. So I got to learn other lessons. Puzzle piece reminds me of non-attachment. Don't have to have the outcome I expected. Also, it said, what is it I want to promote, which was really this week's lesson, is what is it that I'm going to promote? Am I going to promote getting all upset and giving my power away to a situation that really doesn't matter, or am I going to promote peace? Not to mention you've got to pick up every one of those 1,000 pieces, young man. But, and this morning's message is, what is it that you are promoting? Are you giving your power away to those things that happen on the outside? You're attached thinking it's supposed to look like this, and it is finally emerging, and it is going my way. The relationship is beautiful. The business is unfolding. The creativity is coming together, and boom, it gets disrupted. Are you going to give your power away to that disruption? What are you going to promote in your life is what I'm asking you here today, because I watch people come into this world not really knowing what they're doing here. It's like, what is my purpose? What am I here to promote? There's got to be more to life than making a living so you can pay your bills and you get sick so you can get better, so you can make it through life. You have your ups and your downs, and finally, by the time you get old enough really to start figuring it out, you die. The deep thinkers realize there's more to life than that. And as I read some of the philosophers, as I tend to contemplate it, come to realize that it is really about, I feel, showing the glory of God. In the 19th Psalm, it says, "The heaven shows the glory of God, and the firmament is the handiwork." It is about revealing the glory of God. It is about revealing the presence of God. It is about promoting the presence of God in the midst of disruptions, in the midst of questioning, am I going to choose to promote God here or not? And if you come up with a, whoops, I didn't promote Spirit here, I didn't promote the glory, have I got a great exercise for you. And it was inspired by a Unity church in Kansas City that came up with the concept of giving out these purple bracelets I told you about last week. And that when you have a conflicting idea to the glory of God, or a conflicting idea to your dream, or what it is you want to create, you take this purple bracelet off your left hand and you put it on your right hand. And then you try to go for 21 days. It takes 21 days to establish a new pattern, somebody said. At least that's the accepted belief. And so we want to create a world that is free of conflict, a world that is basically doesn't have conflict going on. And so what we get to do is participate in it. And what happened is we ordered these bracelets last month, and Oprah did a big thing on it a few weeks ago, and we don't have our bracelets. A lot of other people have our bracelets, but it is an opportunity for me not to promote being frustrated and embarrassed and all those things. So I came up with our very own bracelet called the rubber band. And actually, I gave this exercise out a couple years ago, but I didn't say change wrists. I said pop yourself. And so I remember our elementary school teacher got a bracelet, and when I went to visit him by Monday morning, out of all things, his wrists were swollen. But every time you have a negative idea that is contrary to expressing the glory of God, that's contrary to bringing forth your whole picture, your vision, your passion, you go pop. That hurts. So you're going to change wrists and see if you can go 21 days. I know some of you can do it, but in case you don't, in 21 days, we will have the official purple bracelets for you that you can then put on and go back and forth. So I have given you this gift, no cost. This rubber band is to help you to promote what it is you want to experience in your life. It is to assist you to promote the positive and the glory of God in your dreams. And when you begin to be negative, you just little reminder. Oh, okay. You hear all this? You'll notice. You'll think of me for the rest of the week. And so as you do that, you'll begin to recognize that you are not a victim to your picture being disrupted by a young little 7-year-old. You'll find that your world will not be disrupted by the challenges. Speaking of Oprah, which I did a moment ago, I like that segue. But I mean, she's got the amazing story that we're all familiar with. Here is a young child who was born to unwed teenage parents. And so she was raised at the age of 9 by her grandparents. At the age of 9, Oprah went back to her mom, who was ill-equipped to raising a child. And from 9 to 13, she was molested by various different male relatives. At the age of 14, gave birth to a stillborn baby, at which point she went to live with her father, Vernon Winfrey, who had matured and got his life together. He made her child read a book every week and do a report on the book. She began to get good grades in school, got very strong, got her first reporting job at the age of 19, and went on to just what we know as probably one of the most influential women in our country, if not probably one of the most successful women in the history of our country. There you go. So I don't want to hear, hey, I can't do it. I've got a bad set of circumstances. A guy by the name of Zurmir, born in 1885 in Russia, oppressive government. His family ran and immigrated to Canada. He too had a very abusive father. His mom supported him. At the age of 19, he moved to Boston, changed his name to Louis B. Mayer, made some money in selling scrap metal, saved enough money, bought a burlesque house. And then when movies became famous, he turned the house into a movie house, then created a chain of movie theaters, moved to Hollywood and partnered up with a guy by the name of Samuel Mayer and Marcus Lowe of Metro Movies, and our mayor here turned into MGM, probably the strongest movie theater in the golden era of Hollywood. Once again, starting from an area and say, oh gosh, my life is impoverished. Oh, I've had abuse. And all of a sudden, what is it I'm going to promote in my life? Am I going to promote the negativity? Am I going to promote what that looks like defeat? Or am I going to choose to step out and take the action? Taking the action is what makes the difference. There's an Irish saying that says you cannot plow a field by turning it over in your mind. But what I've also noticed is I've got some of these great dreams. They're like carrots being dangled from Jupiter, out there, way out there. And so being that sometimes the dream or the passion seems so far away, some of us will slip into a thing called avoidance. It's like, well, I can't. I've got the wrong path. Or we notice that we're not pursuing it. Some of the signs for me is I start thinking about the sock sales at Target, when I don't even need socks, or shop at Target. start consuming mass quantities of cookies in the middle of the afternoon with their wrappers. You know? Or, people start returning phone calls from dates that you knew were no good, particularly since they were still with another person. These are flares on a foggy night that is calling you home and saying you are into this avoidance thing. It is time to pursue, to take the action, to express the glory of God in your life, and stop tying yourself down and saying, I can't do it because of this or because of that. You know what? There may be something greater. There may be a deeper understanding, a more profound lesson waiting for you if you're willing to move beyond all those excuses that are keeping one tied down. But those excuses fill us up. How can there be room for God if I'm filled with all these avoidance tactics or all these reasons why I can't pursue that dream that's just dangling out there? I want to start a whole movie company. That thing's huge. Yeah. But it comes down to emptying yourself. Wonderful Zen story of a Western man who wanted to study with a Zen master. This guy from the Western perspective was brilliant. He had 2 degrees in philosophy, a very well-respected, learned man, decided to travel thousands of miles to study with the Zen master. He waited days to have his private audience. Finally was invited into the room, and he sat down at the table with the master, and the servant brought in the tea and set the tea down on the table. And the Westerner began to tell the Zen master, what it is he knows, his degrees, his education, the books he read, the books he wrote. How, not that he didn't want the information from the Zen man, but he just wanted the master to know what he was dealing with. And as he was going on, the Zen master got up and started pouring the tea, and the guy just stopped instantly with his monologue. And it was like the guy didn't stop pouring the tea overfilled the cup, over the rim, into the saucer, over the saucer. He just kept pouring out of the saucer onto the table, and it kept pouring onto the table, onto the floor, onto this Westerner's shoes, who finally jumped up, said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Just like you, there's no room in there. You're so full of your stuff, there's no room for anything else. This teacup is so full, there is no room for anything new." And in our lives, we get so full of our stuff, and I'm not necessarily saying our ego stuff from, hey, how grand I am. So many people are filled with their fears, or they're filled with their resentments. And this is what they're promoting to the world. They're forgetting that they're connected to a source, that they're a direct pipeline where the infinite good is seeking to express itself so we can bring forth the glory of God in whatever it is we have chosen to do in our life. We just get so filled that we block the flow, the fresh ideas, the fresh God expression in our world. Let us empty out the cups of our being. Let us empty out even our prayers. We can't keep praying the same prayer. I mean, it was a good one once. But is it fresh? Is it new? Is there room for the presence of God to show? And if your prayer wasn't working, then by all means, dump that one. Prayer didn't work. You cannot put fresh water into stale water. You cannot put a fresh prayer into an old structure. Let us begin to stop telling God in our prayers on how to fix the situation, on what it is to give us. Our prayer so often is just asking God. It's like throwing dirt or dust in the face of God and saying, hey, God, just in case you didn't know how to operate things, I want to tell you what to do here. Hey, God, you know what? Let me just tell you, I know you did well with creating the universe, but you're missing this little spot called my life. Maybe it's me who is blocking that flow. Maybe it's me who's not allowing that glory of God to have its way. Maybe it's me who forgot to promote the greater good. It's called the law of attraction. It is about attracting into our life that which we're promoting, that which we are putting out there. The choice comes down to whether I want to unite with the presence of God or whether I want to unite with the fears, the worries, the avoidance behaviors, or the conflicting thoughts. And when the conflicting thought comes up and it's not congruent or in alignment with what's in my heart, snap, other wrist, however you're doing it, you get to take a look. Because begging God and groveling to God and petitioning God, saying, come on, man, give it to me now, come on. It's not the approach. How can you be in love with this kind of glory of spirit, thinking that it's withholding anything from you. Spirit cannot withhold anything. And to think that you hound somebody long enough until they finally give it up, that is not the approach to prayer that we take around here. Our approach to prayer is to know that God has given it all already, or whatever you want to call that life force. That which created everything, the all-originating creative essence is what has already given it all already. It's not going to give more. It's all been given. God is the same today as it was yesterday, as it will be tomorrow, everlasting unto everlasting. God is, not will be, has been. God is. That's what God is. It is the isness of spirit. And what I want to do is unite with that. What I want to do is connect. Get connected. If I want to move beyond in my world, in my life, I have got to get connected with the source, with the one, with the only. We are already one with spirit. We're not becoming one. We are one now. It's not something you earn. It's not something you lose. It doesn't matter what you have done in your life, how horrible something you may have done at some point. You did not lose your connection. It's impossible. We're already, the Father and I are one, is what Jesus said. Find it in John, 10th chapter. You know, how could you be separated from yourself, right? That doesn't make sense. It's not logical. You know, how can you be separated from you? It doesn't work that way. Well, if you're spirit expressing, you know, God's everything, then you got to be spirit expressing, logically. Spirit can't be separated from you. And so the only blockage is coming through you, is coming through your mind. You are still one with spirit. It's up to you to remember who you are and what you are. I love the fable, I think it comes out of India, about this tiger. She was very, very pregnant, exhausted, hadn't eaten, came across a small herd of goats, and she pounced on the herd, gave it all to get one of those goats, and in the process went into labor, gave birth to this little tiger cub, but died in the birth. And when the goats came back, they found this abandoned, orphaned little tiger cub. And they raised this tiger as its own. And this tiger learned to talk like goats, bah, eat grass and all that. So one day, a big, proud male tiger pounced upon the herd. The herd dispersed, went wherever the herds go. And that little tiger was just left looking up. And there's something in him that remembered, but the big tiger looked and said, "What are you doing here?" And the little tiger looked up and went, "Bah," and went back to eating its grass. And this guy just looked at it and said, "You are an embarrassment to the tiger species." He picked this little guy up by the scruff of his neck and took this tiger to a pond and said, "Look at yourself." And said, "You are not a goat." Took him back to his cave and his den where there was some fresh gazelle and said, "Eat." And the little tiger said, "I'm not eating that stuff. I'm a vegetarian." And this tiger took this meat, a little piece, and just crammed it down this little cub's mouth. And the cub just gagged. But when it went into its system, it kind of remembered, it stretched itself out, man. It showed its teeth and let out this little teeny roar. And after that, ran off with his new mentor and hunted happily ever after, I guess. But what a great metaphor for us, that we sometimes think we're goats and forget that we're the tigers. That when somebody says you're not a goat, don't you remember that you have been created in the image and the likeness of God? And we gag. Wait. Let me promote why I'm not the image and likeness of God. Let me promote and tell you why my world isn't really expressing the glory of the Spirit. What are you promoting in your life? Are you promoting the Spirit in all that you do? Are you remembering to be connected in what it is you're doing? When you're in love with what it is you're doing, it comes forth. Have you ever been with a teacher who's just on fire and they're inspirational? It doesn't matter what credentials they have on the wall. They are just in love with their topic, and it comes alive for you. You go to hire somebody, you hear the passion, the excitement. That's a good person to bring to your team. But it's the conditioned mind that says, well, I've got to have these many degrees before I can go do the teaching. Or is the conditioned mind that says, I am sick, see what the doctor said. Or is the conditioned mind that believes in the bank statements. The conditioned mind that continues to forget that it is the presence of God and begins to promote the limitations. It promotes what the challenges are. It promotes the disaster. What are you promoting? The unconditioned mind remembers it is about spirit. The unconditioned mind remembers that all things are possible. If I want to choose to promote, even if I was born in Russia in 1885, that I could become a Hollywood mogul, that I could be born to teenage parents, unwed, go through a horrible upbringing, become one of the most influential and powerful people in the greatest country. What do you want to promote? See, for you to get outside of your picture, you've got to remember to get connected. For you to go beyond what it is you're trying to work on right here, that's consuming your time and your energy and all that. Sometimes somebody's just got to come and disrupt your world for you to remember and get back on track. Andrew was a very successful executive, made a slew of money until he lost his job. And a year or more went by to the point where he was nearly $1 million in debt. He noticed he was in tough shape when he was scrounging through the cushions on his couch to find enough change so he could buy himself a sandwich for lunch. Found a few dollars, went down to the deli, and on the way back from the deli, there was a homeless person asking for a handout. Some money. And of course, Andrew's initial reaction was, forget it, I don't have any. I may be with you in a couple weeks. But there's something inside of him, like that tiger that remembered something. It said, give what you got. And it was so compelling that it overshadowed his fear. So he took the last of the change that he had and half a sandwich that was left and gave it to the guy. And as he walked away, an interesting thing happened. He didn't feel poorer. He felt richer. He felt all of a sudden better, that he gave everything he had. And feeling good, and that was the essence and the aura that was now coming from him. Walking home, he started thinking, what can I do to work? And he said, well, I used to be in the stock brokerage business. I got some buddies. I'll call, see if somebody needs some work. So he called up one of his friends, and he said, you know what? We'll give you a shot. There's this new company we're looking at. We need someone to do the research, see if it's a viable, solid place to direct some of our investments. We'll give you $1,000 for you to go do that. So he went to the company, he looked at it, got very excited. That passion I was talking about, that love that was going inside. He came back and said, this is a great company. Oh my goodness, it's ecologically based. It is sound. I think it'd be a good place for you to direct some of your investors' finances. And so they went ahead, and all of a sudden this company started to take off. And they felt that they needed somebody to manage the account with this new company. And they asked Andrew, would you come on full time? How much would you like? And all that he could really get out without gagging was about $10,000 a month. The bosses talked and said, you know what? We can maybe do like $100,000 a year plus, bonuses from any of the profits from the investments with that company. Well, this company took off through the roof, went to be one of the top 10 producing ecology companies in the country. And Andrew, in a short time, was able to pay back his $1 million, has now several companies and houses in 3 different states, and is living a prosperous expression. I share that story with you because it came to a point where he got to choose what he was going to promote in his life. Am I going to promote the poverty? Ow. Or am I going to remember that tiger, that divine expression that is within me? The choice comes down to you making it. And if you start to slip the wrong way, I've given you this tool to help remind you to get back on track and remember who you are, and what your purpose is here in life. Awake thou that sleeps. It brings forth the Christ light. Ephesians, 10th chapter. Awake that which sleeps. There's something that sleeps inside of you. Call it forth. You don't have to know what it is, but you have to be willing to empty the stuff that is keeping it, the new expression to show up in your life. Because God, all things are possible. Lori Corby was a 32-year-old mom of 2 children, had something wrong with her throat, went into the doctor, they did tests, they realized that her aorta was about to explode. She needed surgery right away. They went in, they could not correct the situation. The only thing that was going to assist her was a heart transplant. They put her on the heart transplant list, and within a couple weeks, some air went in and created aneurysm in her brain, had a massive stroke, and was virtually left as brain dead, and was only kept alive by being taken off the heart transplant list and put on life support system. She laid there for an extended period of time when the doctors finally concluded that there was really no hope. It was brain dead. The heart was going only because of the machine. They felt that turning the machine off would probably be the best thing to do. Family, I guess, went along with it. The doctors went ahead and turned the machine off. And the amazing thing is the heart kept beating. And even more amazing than the beating heart is she woke up. And after waking up, her brain began to smile, and her speech came back, and her smile was there. And this was in 2004, and today she is a fully functioning, healthy, whole, complete expression of life. I share this with you to let you know that Spirit can do anything if we are able to get our stuff out of the full cup of our being and stop telling God how to run the universe, which includes our lives, and just become receptive to that presence of God, become receptive to the grace of God, that grace of God that has not been given to someone upon this moment because there's a challenge there, but the grace of God that was given in the beginning, and it is always there. It's not going to be, and it's not has been. That grace is fully there for anyone who is empty enough to receive, to connect, to promote, to attract into their life the wisdom, the grace, the greatness, to be humble enough. That's the way Spirit shows up in your life. You have to be humble enough to allow Spirit to have its way in your world and in your life. Humble enough. Humility is an integral piece to the manifestation of the glory of God being expressed in your life, and you've got to be the promoter of it. Remember, it was said, "My peace I give unto you." And so I grabbed my puzzle piece that I kept in my pocket, like I tell you, to reconnect with that presence and remember that with God all things are possible, to be humble enough to allow that Spirit to flow, to remember to allow that Spirit to have its way, and to know that I'm not in this life just to make it to the end successfully, but to bring forth the glory of God in all that I do. So no matter what is going on in my world, whether the puzzles are destroyed or whether I'm in an abusive place or whether I'm struggling financially, that the presence of God is far greater than any of those things that are going on. But I must remember to connect and go beyond and promote the glory of God in the face of all those difficulties. I can raise from the dead or from the life support systems. You can choose what it is your world is to look like, but the choice comes down to you, what it is you want to believe or what you don't want to believe. And when something comes up you don't want to believe, remember this. Ow! God bless us as we promote that Spirit of God. So I'd like to invite the ushers to come forward as we do take our gift from our heart. Again, with a lot of heart and soul and passion. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. I trust you enjoyed that podcast. It was very exciting to be able to create that and to know that there are people like you all around the world that are observing and integrating these spiritual principles into their life. And so if you enjoyed it, what I'd like to do is encourage you to tell a friend or bring several friends together and watch another one of these podcasts, and then afterwards take some time to talk about the spiritual principles, to talk about the stories and what significance they have and relevance they have in your life. What then happens is it moves to a deeper and deeper level in your world. It becomes real and assists you to create the freedom in your life that your heart and soul so desire. So if you like this, I encourage you to watch it again, but also tune into our website here at seasidecenter.org. There, you can get some of my written material and take a look at it. You can read some of my spiritual prayers. You can even go to our online bookstore and order some of the books. And if
you're so moved, what I greatly would appreciate is your financial support, which you could do online at seasidecenter.org. It is support like yours that assists us to be able to continue to do these kinds of gifts for humanity and send it out to the world. Because you know what? We are making a difference with this spiritual message. And because of support like yours, people are being touched in the farthest reaches of this planet, as well as our backyard, more than we could ever begin to realize. So I thank you from the fullness of my heart for making a difference.